That's a great question. We worked very closely with the registry of motor vehicles on this, and we feel as though we quickly ameliorated the problem. We've identified most of the people that we are pursuing. It's an ongoing investigation, so we hope to identify some people in the near future. But the registry worked right alongside of us, and we are working with them to fix this from happening again.
The captain indicated that you expect numerous additional arrests.
Right.
Are they outside of the registry or even some inside the registry?
No, the arrest warrants that are outstanding are for people within and without, from within the New England region.
Can you say how many arrest warrants are outstanding?
Would you say 32?
32 minus the 11, 21.
It's 21, okay.
Well, bear in mind that this is a continuing investigation, and based on interviews, we may have other further warrants will be pursuing.
You talked about Rhode Island being a sanctuary state. What kind of implications does that have?
My comment was this is not a sanctuary state for people coming into Rhode Island for nefarious reasons and to obtain an illegal identification and furtherance of their criminal conspiracies that they're involved in. You can see as far as the comments that Captain Lynch has made and what's on the press release, that there are numerous people with criminal backgrounds, criminal identification issues, and that's what we're looking at.
What were they doing with these fake IDs? Were they using them to hide a criminal record so they could buy guns? Were they using them to obtain credit? What?
Well, like I said, it cuts to the heart of the tools used by law enforcement to identify people. We have many of these defendants, or potential defendants, have several names. They've obtained fraudulent identification for a variety of reasons. One of the examples used, and there are many examples that we could use, that gentleman used it for in furtherance of his narcotics operation.
Do you have any evidence that people outside the state knew of this procedure here and you know, would come here to, you mentioned it's not a sanctuary state, would come here for the sole purpose of getting them?
We have, part of the investigation led us to believe, led Detective Moynihan to believe that people were coming in using the intermediary as a conduit to get to the registry to use, to obtain a fraudulent identification.
From states how far away? Can you talk about that at all?
We're not going to identify that because we have warrants in outstanding in other states right now.
So there, you know, police look at the license, they go to the computer in the car, whatever, they get access to the information on that person. So is it safe to assume that there were files in the registry for fictitious people, and that's what these licenses referred back to?
Let me have Captain Lynch speak to that.
What the basic premise of this scam was is that the person on the street wanted to create a fictitious identity. They would come up with fraudulent documents to obtain an ID, without an ID. They would then pay anywhere from $2,500 to $3,000 to a middleman to gain access to convert that fraudulent Rhode Island ID into an active Rhode Island license. That was
And all that comes with it, there would have been that name that's on that license would have been in the files that you guys look at when you look at a license,
So that person,
but it wouldn't have had a criminal record as opposed to their real name, which would have.
so a police officer stops that person, a motor vehicle stop, checks the person, it's an active, valid license, and the person is allowed to go on his way. Today, we spoke in terms of customers, middlemen, and clerks. The three customers that we arrested, we got a hit right away, probably within an hour of bringing that person back here. That person's wanted out of Brockton, Mass. On drug charges under a different name. So the use, going back to Amanda's question, the use of that license is to actively avoid apprehension.
Any indication that the people who got the phony licenses then took those licenses and perhaps went to either Social Security or got some of the benefits from our state, Human Services Department using that phony ID?
Jim, that's part of our ongoing investigation as far as databases where these names are popping up, whether it be welfare or other state entities. That's an ongoing part of this investigation.
What are the immigration implications, if I can ask?
As far as these, a number of these
Could you just
folks.
step up to the...
Oh, certainly.
Can you spell your name for me?
Sure, Riccio, R-I-C-C-I-O,
First name?
David. A number of these folks are illegally in the country. I think the press release mentions one individual that was arrested in June that had previously been deported as an aggravated felon. So they had a drug history. They're facing federal charges now as a reentry, in addition to the identity fraud charges. So this is the case with a number of these folks. They may have already been ordered deported. They may be simply illegally in the country and looking for another identification to avoid detection. When it runs again.
What does having the valid Rhode Island license do for them?
It keeps local law enforcement from inquiring any further to determine are they wanted by ICE, are they wanted by other entities, as the captain said.
The person who was back in the country after having been deported from where, do we know?
Jamaican Republic.
The two workers arrested, are they union members? And if
I
so,
don't
what
know.
union?
I don't know that. I don't know their labor background.
Is there a way to safeguard that this wouldn't happen again at one of the registries? State police find that there should be a way to safeguard against this?
I think, sorry.
Go ahead.
I think these gentlemen have spoken to that. They're addressing it. They're actively looking into what was going on there. I think we have an excellent relationship with the state police, with the registry folks. They regularly call us when they have folks that bring up question about identity documents to get licenses. So the relationship is there. And I think this shows that it's actually actively being looked at.
To add to that, expound upon that, we're working closely with the director of the registry, Ted Dolan. I spoke to him an hour ago. We'll be meeting with him this week to make sure that this doesn't happen again. He's very concerned about it, work closely with detectives, and we feel as though we're confident that we'll be able to ameliorate this from happening again in the near future. But this has happened in several states throughout the United States where basically we've identified a corrupted official there. We have arrested 2 corrupted officials. That's the way we look at it. And we're proud to take those persons out of state service.
Do we know how long these people had worked at the registry?
I don't have,
6 years on one and 2 to 3 on the second.
But the people getting them, did they get them at the registry or out on the, like, right there at the registry? Or did they get them on the street?
They would get, eventually they would have the hard copy license mailed to an address for pickup.
Huh.
So they didn't have to stand in line like everybody else?
They never went through the normal process.
And they had the license mailed to them from the registry, not from the middleman?
Correct.
Okay.
there's a whole host of, I mean, you had asked the question earlier, how they can use, some may be using it to thwart police efforts. Also, they can identify, they can obtain, obviously, credit card information, credit card credit. And also, they can go to another state and obtain a license from another state now that they have a valid Rhode Island license. So we're working with other registry of motor vehicles as well, and continue this investigation throughout the next week. And again, I commend Detective Moynihan, thank the other agencies that partnered with us and worked vicinity, and with the Attorney General's office. It was a
Colonel, one final,
case to wrap up.
with the amount of illegal aliens coming into Rhode Island, how much does this put a drain on your resources? Because obviously, there's more people that want fraudulent ID. There must be a huge demand for it. So how much does that strain your resources to keep up with that market?
That's a great question, John. It strains our resources. We put a lot of personnel were assigned to this investigation, and we continue to do that. Our financial crimes unit spends a lot of time with identity theft. And yes, there are a lot of people trying to gain and obtain false identification. It's just one of the many drains on the resources of law enforcement today. We just continue to battle.